Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Doctor's Notes podcast by Doc's Castle Media, a podcast I created to share the notes of one of my favorite reality shows ever, Big Brother USA. I'm your host, Doc, and I'm here to talk BP perspective from Doc's point of view. So here we go. Hey, everyone, this is the live eviction episode where we finally figure out who leaves up the house based off of where the last two people that were on the block, which was Blue and Jag. Who's going home tonight? Let's see what we found out. So this episode was like really, it really wasn't much that was put in this episode. What was the most surprising is we've been faked out. We've been faked out during this episode. Yes, indeed. Was there actually someone who left the house this week? No. It looks like this week, our week is canceled according to the secret power that America has voted into the house. The power of invincibility. This is what I mentioned on our last podcast. And this is basically what was the main theme of the episode, because majority of the show was recordings of the Power of Invincibility competition. Other parts where it's just like, usual gameplay and strategy. This house is constantly flipping, so like I guess CBS has issues with trying to figure out what is the most important game strategy, because everyone's speaking game strategy. What looks like it's going to be what actually needs to be put into the show. I'm pretty sure they don't even know what's going on, because there are so many talks happening according to what we always see on Twitter and me giving those updates. But we started off the show with Cameron being HOH, Blue and Jag on the block. The winner of the veto competition was Red on the last episode, and he did not use it, so we were voting for whoever to be out of the house. It seems like we thought that Jag was originally going to be the person to go out the house. That's the majority of the house was voting in that direction. But we saw that the relationship between Jared and Cirie is becoming quite rocky. And because of that, we thought that maybe Blue might be headed out the door, because Cirie is working towards saving Jag, somebody that is part of at least one of her alliances. We see that Jag is desperately in need of someone to save him. He literally, from the perspective of watching it from the CBS show, it looks like Jag doesn't have really anyone with him but Blue, because that was who was originally in his handful alliance. But we all know that he's in the 7 deadly sins, and in the 7 deadly sins, that's who he's trying to gain his loyalty with when he's working with those people. But ultimately, I think that Jag is working alone, and he's trying to work with who he thinks is the most powerful. I think everybody thinks that Cirie might be the most powerful game player in the house right now. Very strong, but isn't winning anything. But I know that they have to think that she's more powerful. The way that she talks strategies with them, they know this. And this is why everyone is trying to be in an alliance with her. I think literally everyone in that house is in 1 or 2 alliances with Cirie. So do they even question that? Everybody's questioning about who else is making alliances behind their back. But do they not realize that she is literally in multiple alliances? I don't know. No one's not talking to each other enough. They're not talking to each other enough to figure this out. We are the only ones that see what's really happening. In Cirie's attempts to try to flip the vote, she goes to her son, Jared, with information about some of her alliances, or just knowing that some people are willing to bring Jag with them instead of Blue. So she wants to relay that message to Cirie, because that's who she really is taking to the end with her. They really don't trust Cam or Red, the two of them. So because they don't trust them, they're trying to figure out who works best for their game out of Jag and Blue. And Jared is more so leaning towards Blue. And of course we know that because that's his showmance and that's the personal relationship that he has with her. He feels that be best for his game to keep Blue instead of Jag because of how close that they work together. But Cirie doesn't have any trust in Blue. And because she doesn't really have that much trust in Blue, she doesn't want to work with Jag. So she's going to do her best to convince Jared to keep Jag and flip the vote. And tell Jared that Jag would be internally grateful with them if they know that he's the sole person or someone that's turning the vote. Cirie even thinks that she absolutely needs Jared's vote to save Jag. There isn't no other way. So she's trying her best to convince Jared. And Jared is trying his best to understand that he gonna vote to keep his girl. That's just facts. So the beginning of the episode literally was just that. Everybody trying to decide on who they were going to vote for. And it looked like everybody was entertaining the idea of a flip, but they couldn't find a solution, a possible definite in that flip. And when it came to Eviction Night, we'll see how that vote had went. But after all of that game talk, we finally get to the Power of Invincibility game. I honestly forgot what the name of the competition was, but the instructions were clear. The players, they had this balance beam board that they normally do in the Big Brother house where everyone has to try to get a ball down a path into a hole, balancing it, and basically, if you get it into the hole at the fastest time, you would win that competition. This is just a normal competition that we usually have in Big Brother. So, yeah. People had to balance a ball down and balance a board into a hole that landed into a chalice that then pressed the button. And whoever pressed the button the fastest was the winner of the Power of Invincibility competition. There were only 4 people that were competing in this competition. And these are the 4 people that got the most votes out of America. And this is also letting us know who America is revealing that they like the most in the house, who is their favorite at the current time. So we find that the people that were chosen for this competition were Matt, Jag, Cirie, and Corey. Interesting. Out of that, I'm not surprised at all that these are the people that America are gravitating to. I do wish that people did put Felicia up on there because that's who I like. But when you're giving someone a power, I guess we're also thinking when we're voting how that power would be used, who's going to switch the game up, or, how it's going to happen. And when I'm looking at each person that's playing in this game, I think America literally was voting in a way that where we thought that the game was going to change and go into a different direction. Because I was saying multiple times that they need to have Corey win some type of power so that we can see his gameplay. I think America's thinking just like me because Corey is definitely in this list of people. And the same thing when it comes to Matt. I think people will really sympathize with Matt though. We care about Matt because of we're watching how production is dealing with him and trying to figure out if anyone's accommodating him. And I think people will just sympathize with Matt, and that's the reason why he's up there. But he's just a good player, and it looks like he's playing alone too. So I think people are sympathizing with that. Same thing with Jag. I think everybody is just feeling sad that Jag is on the block and it's just not his fault. They're sympathizing with him, so we gave him that vote. Cirie, we are watching her game. Literally, this is the Cirie game. This isn't the Big Brother house. This is the Cirie house this season. So Cirie, of course, she's going to be one of the most popular players to be put in the roster for this game. they let everybody go into the room to read a card to let them know if they were participants in the game. So, they had to do a fake out because this competition is supposed to be a secret competition. Whatever the winner of that competition does, they do what they will with that power. And when we finished the competition, we found out that Matt is the one that is ultimate in this competition. He won the Power of Invincibility with a time of 45 seconds. Man, he's fast. He is already an Olympic star, so we should know that he was going to finish fast. Matt won, and he has the decision on whether he wants to let someone know about that power or if he just wants to keep it for himself. And Matt is made with the ultimate decision. Which brings me now at an early point of this podcast, talking about who I think should be the MVP player of the episode. I think the MVP player of this episode is obviously Matt. But there's two, of course, and I'm sure that everyone can guess who the other person is because she seems to be the MVP of almost all my episodes because that's just how it rolls right now. We're watching the Cirie game, like I said. We're watching the Cirie game. So MVP players are Matt and Cirie. Matt being an MVP player, I think Matt deserves MVP crown because he used the BB Power of Invincibility to strengthen his relationships in this game. This episode, Matt talked in the dining room about how he wanted to use the Power of Invincibility to reel in Cirie. He wants her to be close to him. That's who he literally wants to work with and be at the end of the game with. So he used the BB Power of Invincibility to strengthen his relationship, and he told her that he had the power so that she could trust him and work closely with him. And so in the episode, we see that they go into, the have-not room, and they have this conversation, and Cirie is eager, and you can tell that she's really eager to work with him, and she's excited about the information, because when she goes into her diary room session, she lets us know that just with Matt giving her that simple information, just that he won the Power of Invincibility, she knows that Matt is someone that she can work with. He trusts her enough to give her that information, so she thinks that Matt is close to being, a final three with her? Matt has surpassed Izzy now. And I think that Matt might have surpassed Izzy when it comes to the relationship between her and Cirie, because Matt is quiet. He can keep secrets, and he's showing that he can keep secrets basically with this Power of Invincibility, and that is a plus for Cirie. Cirie likes that. She likes the secretness, because she can work with that. But Cirie is the MVP player of this episode because she saw that and she took note, and now she's convinced Matt who to save from the block, because it could have been from either one. Matt is literally working with both people that are on the block, but this move is making him get a step further in knowing what's actually happening and what's important to the people that are in the house. So I think Cirie power move this week was to convince Matt who to save during the live eviction. And another thing that makes Matt an MVP player is because he used the BB Power of Invincibility to save that person. And who do we see get saved? At the end of the episode, the live eviction still goes on. Everybody goes on with the vote. We all try to figure out whether Blue or Jack goes home. The vote is again unanimous because we are uncertain if that Power of Invincibility is going to be played. The only people that know what the power is Cirie and Matt. So everyone's just thinking that, maybe it's just not going to happen. They didn't win anything, so that it's just not a power that they need. They don't know it for sure if it's going to be used. Jag was voted out of the house with a vote of 10-0. He was evicted. Unanimous vote. So once he heard that, he gets up, he starts to go do his little hugging, and everybody's hugging him goodbye. But then we get a notice from the comic verse that lets us know that the power of invincibility has been used. Everyone's wondering, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? We find out that the week is completely canceled. Everything that has made Cameron MVP player last couple of episodes has basically shut everything down. Cameron is really, his HOH did not matter. Everything that happened this week did not matter because the week was canceled. Blue is still there and Jag is still there. The week is reset and everyone has to compete in the HOH competition, including Cameron again. So everything was completely wiped out. And I know that Cameron probably deep down inside is pissed off and scared because the threat, the person that was his target on the block this week was Jag. And they successfully voted Jag out. But that power made him invincible, and now Cameron and Red are literally in danger. Everybody in the house seems so happy that Jag is still staying. But the only two people that aren't happy literally is Red and Cameron. Because that was their plan. Their plan is to take them out. And then they're also afraid because they know that they are being targeted because that was a possibility of a flip. I'm sure that they knew about that too. I mean, everyone's talking. Everyone's in conjoining alliances. I'm sure that Cameron and Red had to know that there could have been not a back door, just a blind side. I know that they could have thought that this could have been a blind side and thinking that Blue was going to go back, but it didn't happen. So now they have to rethink everything. This episode, I want to explain the alliances. Like, the names of alliances, obviously, I don't think even matters anymore. It's just about who's working with whom, because they keep trying to name alliances and it just doesn't. I feel like they probably named maybe one alliance the same thing and something twice, you know. That's how it's confusing it gets. But as far as a new alliance that has been created in this episode, it seems to be a solidified alliance between Matt and Cirie at this moment, because they work together in making this big move happen. That's an important alliance right there. It's not a final two alliance because of course Cirie is taking Jared, but it's a final three alliance that Cirie has, but a final two that Matt has within his mind. This episode, I'm going to talk about Twitter updates. There really isn't any Twitter updates this episode, mainly because we were waiting to figure out who was that HOH. And I don't want to share. I know who the HOH is, but I don't want to share that right now because we're going to leave that for the HOH episode. This episode was the eviction and it was canceled. So Sike to this eviction, and we're waiting to see who is the HOH. There is no other Twitter updates. It doesn't seem like there are any alliances or new moves that could possibly happen because we're stumped. We're left at stumped after that last live episode. So this episode is pretty brief. It's not much that I could say. But I can't wait to see or let you guys know who the HOH is. So we can see how the dynamic of this game goes now with the new HOH. But in this episode, we talked about where we left off with Cameron being HOH and Blue and Jay being on the block and where they are now. We talked about the new alliance between Matt and Cirie, the MVP players also of this episode. And literally there aren't any Twitter updates this week. So there's really not much that we need to talk about when it comes to what is expected. But I do have a question for all my listeners out there. I usually don't really have a question, but I just have a question to leave us off with this episode. The question is, where do you guys see the house going? Do you think that the house is going to continue to be having unanimous votes from this point forward? Does the house seem like it could possibly open up and, turn to Cirie? Or does it look like everybody is just going to continue to always work with her or want to work with her, Is she going to be playing this house for real? What do you guys think the house will go? This is still pre-jury too. What do you think will happen? Who do you think ultimately is the MVP player of the game so far after it being 4 weeks? Leave your comments below or wherever you see that you can make a comment on this podcast. But anyway, we'll see who wins HOH. Tune in next time to the next episode. Thanks. Peace out. Thank you so much for tuning into the Doctor's Notes podcast. I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you found value in what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. For more updates and Docs Castle content, follow me on my social media. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Docs Castle. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics that you'd like to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out to me via email at docscastlemediainfo@gmail.com. Remember, your support means the world to me, and I'm grateful to have you as a listener. But until next time, peace out.